Ladies and gentlemen, North American Sprint Series is back here at Spa-Francorchamps for the first Super Sprint this season for the NA drivers. I'd like to take a quick moment as well to thank our sponsors right here at the start, Simrigs, for sponsoring this new Sprint Series. If you're looking to upgrade your gear, Simrigs has got you covered. They service all of Australia and New Zealand. But if you live outside of those borders like me, well, you can shoot them an email and they'll make something work for you. But we have gotten pretty good night of action ahead of us. Two races here tonight, 20 minutes and 40 minutes for these drivers, and they have been sending it around this Belgian circuit for the last, well, 45 or so minutes. We still got quite a lot of time here in FP1 for these drivers to really get warmed up. Overcast skies, optimum track though. At the moment, it's Hayden Harder on top with a pretty insane time of a 2:18.04. Wilson Fernandez right behind with a 18.65, so only 1/15,000th of a difference between those two. So we'll see what these guys got. EU race was pretty good. The first race, it was Vining that one, and then Hearn and Hudson, they were on the podium as well. Fastest lap was Vining's. Driver who's very strong over in the European theater and continues to do so this week. And then the notable moments from race one, right at the end, Michaels and Fredrickson, two Aston drivers who had miscalculated their fuel loads, actually ended up not finishing the race because they ran out of fuel quite literally just before the finish line. So they got 17th and 18th respectively. It was interesting. I at first thought it was definitely fuel for one, but then the other just sort of putzed along, and that was the end of it. Race number two, though, with the reverse grid, saw a quite surprising turn of events. It was Hussman on pole, an amateur class driver. He fell all the way from 1st to 17th by the end of it, and it was sort of the talk of the day was Vinogradov coming all the way back from 17th to finish 3rd in that round. Quite a recovery drive after a less than stellar first half. He got into a bit of an accident and crashed out, so he had to work his way up from that Q2 and definitely did quite a lot of work, and now gets a nice long break before we head to Dakota. But overall, it was Ron Bouts, which is a debutant in the EU scene, and then Hudson and Vinogradov, of course. But other than that, it was really pretty clean driving from there on out, well, minus a few spills and whatnot, but that is going to happen. We're gonna look here to NA. So last week it was Golzar who did start P2, and he managed to pull that one together by the end of it. Now, one thing I would like to note, I mentioned in that first race that Backerton was back to try and defend his crown. That is not the case. He's got some IRL stuff going on, so unfortunately he does have to back out of this series. Blitz, how you doing? Welcome in. Glad to have you. But overall results from last week, it was Golzar, Harder, and Dornelis who made their touchdown. Harder right now, P2, half a second back from Loverank, who's put in a 2:17. I know in the Discord chat rooms for both EU and NA, we had a lot of talk about 2:16s, even 2:15s by some of these drivers. But that is quite a ways off from what everybody was managing to do. So Harder P2, Dornelis P3 with a 17.8. So still over that half second, but not quite far enough. Then it's Fernandez P4 with a 2:18.0. So the first driver into that 2:18s. And then we look for Golzar, who is unfortunately P8 in the Porsche, 2:18.37. Porsche not really one of the better cars here at Spa. We're mainly going to be seeing Ferrari, McLaren, Honda at the front for the most part. We don't seem to have a lot of those. We have a couple of Audis as well. Audi's doing very, very well in the race earlier today. Notable things, or notable events from last week. Loverank with a P5 start down to P9, although that was with 2 spins. She did get pretty far down, but managed to recover nicely, of course, not ending up where she would have liked, but better having to recover, or not recover as much as you can and end up 4 places behind where you started than to be at the back of the grid. And then we had Thompson, the highest rated amateur class driver in P12, who is currently sitting in P12 at the moment here in free practice with a 2:18.82. And the next driver down was Parody, 10 places back in 22, but at the moment it's Darren Wicks, I believe a debutant here in the North American Series. I don't recognize his name from last week, unless I'm just misremembering things. Oh, there's Flomger pushing his Mercedes a little too hard. But Wicks is the second highest AM class driver, 220.7, and that's actually parity, half-second back behind him. And also, no safety cars, no virtual safety cars either for us here in North America from last week. I don't know if we're going to keep that going. This is Spa. And Spa race starts are always a bit interesting because depending on where you are, things get a little crazy. Now, for those of you that are unaware, and if you've played ACC and you don't know where you start at Spa, I'd be surprised unless you're very, very new. The starting line, or the starting line for the race isn't the start-finish line like we normally see. It actually is after the source. So it does mess things up a little bit because you have drivers who end up further down the hill and they don't have as much of a run-up to Eau Rouge Radion, and then you have drivers behind who are maybe starting at the top of the hill. They have a lot more run-up, they have a lot more speed, so the starts are always a bit chaotic, especially in the second race for these super sprints, where that start line is pushed back a little bit. And it's actually been a manual start from the race director. So it's very important that you're conscious of when those green flags fly, because a lot of people will sort of practice and memorize or get a feel as to where they should be or where the start line is, and then figure out where that's going to go green in relation to where they are on track. But with that second race, it's important to make sure you don't jump the gun. We haven't seen it at all, at least for EU and NA, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know about AP, but we've been pretty good on this side of the globe. And then we had Davis, who was the highest Pro-Am driver, who was 4th. That was Clifford following him in 7th. Right now, Davis is sitting down in P12. He's not had the best free practice right now, 2:18.54 for the Australian. Clifford, though, back into that P7 that he was at last week, and he is sitting nice with a 2:18.1, so a couple of tenths off of breaking the 2:17 barrier. We've only had 4 drivers into that 2:17, Lovering, Harder, Dornelis, and Pierce. Your top 4. Fernandez making it P5 with that 2:18.0, so he's going to be looking to push as much as he can. But we should be ready for quite a lot of action here tonight. We also had Clifford last week got a drive-through at the end, went from 17th to 13th because of the 30 seconds added on. We did have a drive-through earlier today with Europe, although the stewards changed that to a 30-second because driving from one end of Spa's pit lane to the other in this game is, I think, 70 seconds or something like that. It's something absolutely ludicrous. Normally you would expect drivers to go out just after the La Source hairpin, but we go all the way down. You can see the little Audi arch there in the background. That's where the pit lane ends. We had Pierce on pole, who was 0.2 seconds ahead of Gulzar, but unfortunately DNF'd. So I believe he is here this week. Yeah, P4. So he's going to be looking to bounce back after last week's fiasco. And there was I thought I had a bit of confusion last week with Lovering and Frizza. I thought maybe there was some file mishaps and they ended up with the same livery, but that's actually intentional. They are part of the same team, just running different cars. And then another big announcement that I would like to share is for none other than Mr. Kenneth Portis, if we can find him somewhere. Someone's probably already picked him off. Or is he not here? He might not be here. Nope, I don't see his name popping up. Well, other than that, Portis has actually qualified for the VRS Pro Series. It's something new we're doing here in the OOR, so that'll be going down in November. So best of luck to Portis, of course. He's got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of very good drivers who are going to be there. So we'll see if he can do it just as well as everybody else. Only time will tell. Valiant, great to see you back, man. Hopefully your AP campaign has been doing a bit better than it was last week. I did see the post, but I didn't see it. Like, I didn't read it. Kenneth is the race director. Wow. Got some insight here. Interesting. So we've got 33 drivers. Wow. We had 20, I think 25, 26 the race earlier today for EU, so this is a big turnout. A lot of new names returning, a lot of old names. Sorry, I don't think we have any additions, other than I believe it was Wix. But again, I could or no, I remember that team name. I remember the team name. I didn't disconnect. There you go. No DNFs. But so, the first qualifying. Now we had the same quality conditions in EU. 9 a.m. start in game, green track conditions. We didn't see optimum for the last couple of minutes. So, Best decided that you just hold off, you wait a bit, and then you get those really good laps right at the end. Definitely a little difficult to do, all things considered. But for these drivers, we've got some time, 9 minutes, or well, not 9 minutes. We've got 12 minutes of quali. I always forget just how long these qualifyings are. Now, they're not going to get as many laps as they did, or as they normally do, say, like Alton Park. Just because of how long this circuit is. Usually, players, if you take all the aggregate times of everybody, you're looking at about 2 minutes, 20 seconds to get your laps sorted out. But Jonathan Clifford, I believe, is, or was the first driver out. I don't think there's anyone in front of him now, so Clifford is the first one out, so he'll be setting the bar here. Very good driver, a lot of improvement from his first season here in OOR. Glad to see him up into the Pro-Am category with the same car, same number as well. So, very good stuff from him. We should see times coming in shortly. Kenneth Portis, you can't see your name, you heard your name. Just a quick congratulations to you for your, what was it? The VRS Pro Scene qualification, unless something's changed, but last I checked, you were qualified for that series, so best of luck, of course. Make us proud. And I believe there was the only two drivers who made it into the series, you and Vining. Brooke was, I believe, supposed to be in it, but unfortunately couldn't. But we'll be keeping an eye on you, of course, as that series draws closer. I'm definitely ready to see some of OR's best go at it. I don't think they've released the schedule, or I think they have released the schedule. I haven't taken a peek at it just yet, unfortunately, although I will probably do that very soon. For right now, we continue our way through the start of qualifying. Still green track conditions, but Clifford is going through the bus stop right now, so we'll see what the bar is. See where we're going to be setting up shop, and I believe that's Pierce right behind him. So, yeah, it looks like it is Pierce. So, across the line, 220.5 is immediately vested by Pierce's 219.1. Keep in mind, this is green track conditions. We won't be seeing optimum until the last 2-3-ish. My math is correct. Yep, VRS first round, yeah, November 19th. I will still be in, we'll still be doing Sprint Series by the time that rolls around. I think we'll have, I believe, 2 weeks left. Or rather, 2 rounds left at that point. Do we? No, yes. I don't know. Either way, we'll still be in the middle of Sprint Series, so for those drivers listed earlier, Vining and Portis, it's going to be a little tricky. Running everything and making sure you're on top of your game. I don't think I have any part in that series, unfortunately, because knowing my luck, it'll be run off of Australian time, which means race start would be like 4 in the morning. Welcome in, Peabody. Thank you earlier, by the way, for sending the liveries to me. I completely forgot to like, grab them. So, thanks to you, I have all the liveries, and hopefully that's it. Hopefully everyone's got their liveries and we're all set. Love Rink, though, is top of the timing sheets. 2:18.06. So, should be seeing those 2:17s coming in just a couple of minutes. lot of drivers still trying to get a lap in. Chad Teely has got one in for P16. Or sorry, P15, a 2:23.8. So not the start he wanted, but still has plenty of time to improve on himself. A lot of drivers just now starting their flying lap. Now, whether that was due to just sitting back and waiting for the track to get a little bit more grip heavy, or maybe just bottling a run you probably shouldn't have. We'll be seeing hopefully most of the grid coming through. And of course we've got the safety car, the Simrigs safety car, new livery change, brick green this time. I think it looks very nice. We hop here, Austin Carpenter, P5 at the moment, 2:19.66 for him. 1.6 exactly off of Lovering's pace. Looks like Lovering has definitely been practicing for Spa, maybe more than the average OOR player. But it's a half-second improvement so far for the 883 McLaren. Finds himself a little bit of traffic up ahead, but is not impeding too much progress. So Carpenter across the line into P3 at 2:19.13, still not the 2:17 that we're expecting. Especially out of the McLaren, a very strong car here. And goals are very good showing for Porsche right now, P2 for the Canadian. In the EU race, we didn't see Porsche do too well, all things considered. But goals are one of the heavy hitters here in North America. It just seems like every single season he's running quite a ways up front. And especially last season, did a very, very good job. Didn't quite walk away with the championship, but still put up one hell of a fight all season long. So he'll be looking to maybe try again this season, but he knows he's got some very big company alongside him from other splits. So we look around, see who's on an improvement. Nate Lamelin, and what I could only say is pretty much an all-red BMW, very angry-looking livery. P11 for car 11, 2:19.845, and it looks like he actually got a little bit loose out of Longchamp, so that lap is unfortunately done and dusted. Of another shot, so we get just to about 3 minutes. So hopefully this track should be optimum in the next 60 seconds. I mean, with 30 plus cars on track, I definitely would be surprised if it wasn't optimum by the end. I just lost it. Oh, there it is. Jonathan Clifford. So Clifford, who set the first time, has been booted down to P18. Still with a 2:20.555, and he is just about a second up right now. So if he can get this together nicely, this would be a huge jump up. Looks like to about the top 10. Of course, he still has quite a bit of time to go here. It's one of these tracks where it just seems to go on and on. And we are still under green track conditions. Very surprised. We saw with EU, they're already at optimum, and they had less cars on track. Perhaps the conditions will change here. So your last 2 minutes of qualifying, so drivers that are have already passed the line, it's their last chance. A lot of other drivers still have some time. I'm sure some are knowing that they can't make a mistake. We do have some drivers in the pit already. Braden Thompson, Brian Rasco, Kevin Parody, Marco Jansen, and Tadas Lutkis, who have not set time or have set times, but have bailed out of their laps. Clifford does go up into P8 with his little over a second improvement, actually. It's 2:19.49, 500ths behind Davis. And still some improvements across the way. Matteo Sceptura in a very nice McLaren livery. A 2:19.79 for him, half a second up right now. This should put him pretty high up on the ranking. So as he crosses the line, he actually is going to get another lap after this. And, oh, it looks like he went wide. invalidated his lap, so thankfully he still has a chance to keep going. And we see who else is on an improvement. Eduardo Sanchez in the Weebmobile. P20 for him, a 2:24.27, just about a second up. By the time he gets back to the start-finish line, quali will be over with. We have a fast track now, so we aren't getting to optimum, unfortunately. But still something these drivers can work with. And, of course, as we get to the races, track conditions will be very, very good for them. Skylar Loverank here through Blanchimont is on an improvement. 2/10. This could be the 2:17 we've been waiting on. We had, I think, 3-4 of those in the EU races. So far, Loverank the only one. 3/10 out of the final corner, crosses the line, and it is going to be that 2:17.79, a very commanding lead for the 52 Ferrari. That is quite a statement. Over a second ahead of the next fastest driver. Oh, actually, as I say that, Pierce makes it 0.99, so not a full second, but just a tenth below, or rather, 100th. But still a huge, huge gap for Loverank to work with. Mendina makes it up into P4 with that 2:18.87. And we see who else is on a flying lap. Darren Wicks, 24th on the grid at the moment with a 2:21.28. Finds himself 4/10 up on his previous time. So he rounds the final set of corners. He's going to power it here. Across the line he goes, and it's going to be not an improvement. Stays in P24, unfortunately. Does get a faster time, but can't do anything with it. Renato Dornelis, very surprising, P32, although has not set a valid lap and has only gotten 3 laps in, so he has really been pushing this Ferrari. So we'll see where the Brazilian ends up. His last lap was a 2:18.71, and according to this, he is well over a second ahead of himself. So he crosses the line and only makes it P2 at 2:18.420. Thought for a moment he may have dipped into the 2:17s. But that is not the case. But we move here to the start of race 1. Drivers up on the jacks, getting these changes made, and look at that, we have rain coming down already. I mean, it is Spa. You can't be too surprised with the weather that happens here. It can be dry at one end and wet at the other. We're gonna just take a nice little stroll through the starting grid. So Loverank and Dornelis making it a front row start for Ferrari. Hamza Gulzar, Timothy Flomger P4 in that Mercedes, very good showing from him. And then Pierce behind in the top 5 for Aston Martin. Ronan Mendina and Wilson Fernandez, the 2 Brazilians, 6 and 7 for them. Austin Carpenter in P8, Hayden Harder P9, 2 McLaren drivers. And then Steve Davis from Australia, the only BMW in the top 10. And then it's Clifford and Sanchez, McAnulty, Babaletsko, Scaptura, Landry, Lamelin, Briscoe, Thompson, Frizza, the next 10 drivers down. And then we got a little bit of a gap going on before we get to the next set of drivers. We've got the Takis Weeks and Brian Rasco. Rasco, the only Bentley driver here this evening. And then Dag Nunez, Wicks, and then everything falls apart because I can't see everything. Give me just a second. I gotta move the ACC. There we go, the little manager down a little bit. And then it's Dale, Hasser, Wilson, Raworth, Graham, Teely, Parody in the Turtle. And then we have the safety car behind them, and then Jansen and Lutkis. So Lutkis not getting a time in, unfortunately. Just take a quick second, of course, to appreciate this very nice Ford GT livery that is on Sam Raworth's car. It's so well done. EcoBoost too, who would know? And of course the safety car, sponsored by Simrigs And a very bright and flashy color palette for the Chevrolet. But we should be hopping in here. Yep, just about 30 seconds to go for race number 1. 20 minutes on the clock. And of course, just take a quick moment here to thank Simrigs again for sponsoring this Sprint Series. If you're looking to upgrade your rig, wheels, pedals, bases, shifters, heck, they probably even got like gloves in there too. Simrigs has got you covered. If you are a Patreon member, you do get 5% off your in-store purchases, and knowing how expensive Simrig equipment can be, yeah, I would definitely take advantage of that 5% off, servicing all of Australia and New Zealand. And if you're like me and you live in a different country that isn't the land down under, well, shoot them an email and they will absolutely be willing to work something out with you. But the safety car now gets moving here. So these drivers will be getting a move on here. Now with this rain, it will be raining for the next 10 minutes. Which means by the time these guys get back around, all that water they've managed to push aside will be back already. And by the time they get to the end of the race, I believe that it will not be a dry track, so it'll be on the wet tires from here on out. And it's going to be interesting to see just how things play out. I know the rain always throws a bit of a wrench in the works, especially at Spa, of all places, kind of the last place you want all this wet weather. But nothing these guys and gals can't handle. There are going to be a couple of corners that are going to catch some of these drivers maybe a little off guard as we actually go through Brussels. This is one of the corners we do see people kind of slide out at, and then the next corner, I call it no-name corner. It's a bit off camber too, so it's a downhill left. So we have seen a couple of drivers slide off here in the EU race, and especially up at Pouan. Getting a little bit too wide can happen onto that AstroTurf as well in a couple of spots. Can unsettle the car. We saw it in EU. The little bit of AstroTurf near Blanchemont can have the rear end of your car step out. Especially, we were very surprised when we thought maybe it was a tap, but it turns out it was just driver error. Oh, and it looks like the rain's actually going to be picking up in the next 10 minutes, so not only are these drivers going to have to deal with trying to clear this track of water, they're going to have to be ready for parts of the track that they've already driven across to be flooded when they get back. We're here up to Stavilo right now. Safety cars should be pulling away here in the next 30 seconds or so, just about. And at that point, drivers will be lined up 2 by 2. And it looks like we are about to do that. Gulls are joining Dornelis here on this front row. So yeah, drivers lining up 2 wide as we slowly crawl our way up, letting the safety car get some distance between itself and all the other drivers. As well as into position on the off chance there's a less than ideal start for these guys. I'm not going to say what I mean by that, of course, because we can't do that. But everyone going through Blanchemont right now. 30 plus cars on the grid. This is going to be absolute chaos here at the start. We continue our way up towards the start-finish line. Of course, we aren't going to be going green across that line. It'll be after La Source that we'll actually be seeing the green lights. Like we said earlier, when the lights go green, sometimes being at the top of the hill is a bit better than being down towards the bottom. Although with these wet weather conditions, it's going to be interesting to see how things play out exactly. Especially over the already bumpy Eau Rouge Radillon. You see a lot of cars lose the tail end. We do have someone into the pits actually in the background. That's Sam Raworth. If I had to bet on it, probably the wrong set of tires. Perhaps on slicks when he should be on wets. But ladies and gentlemen, we pass around La Source. Everybody getting through. We're getting ready For the first race here for North America at Spa, it's Dornelis on pole with Gulzar joining him, Flomger, Lovering, Pierce, your top 5. And as they cross the timing line, it's green, green, green here for the first race, 20 minutes ahead of us. And it's a really good start there for Gulzar, who already gets ahead of Dornelis up into Eau Rouge Radion. Up and over the top they go. Lovering going to slot into P3 ahead of Flomger, Pierce, Mendina. Everybody else vying for some space in the background, and we have one of the Mercedes off. In the back, I believe that was Flomger. We've got a pile up just before the Kemmel straight, and everybody is stopping. It has happened. Spa is now a parking lot, and every single driver has paid the ultimate price, and wouldn't you know it, the safety car getting called out immediately for the start of this race. Oh man, I just had to say something, didn't I? Just had to say something. Well, while we wait, let's take a look at the replay, actually. So, it was one of the Mercedes that went off, I believe. So, we are going to just scroll on through. So, this is the opening parade lap. So what we need to do is, I believe it was Baba Let's Go. Somebody, I don't even, it might have not have been a Mercedes. There it is, up front. Is that Flomger going off? So let's see what happens. So we race start, we go up Eau Rouge Radion. Get the HUD off so we can actually see what's going on. So we head over the top. What happens? Does he get a, I believe he gets a tap. So we'll use chase cam to see exactly what happens. Oh, he just gets a slight bump from behind. That is the 131 Aston Martin of Thomas Pierce. Flomger goes around and then comes back out on the track right into the pathway of one of the BMWs, and that just starts a chain reaction of everybody getting caught with everybody. You can see just how many cars are getting collected in all of this, huge amounts of impact onto these cars. It has been one of the most disastrous starts I think I've ever seen here in the OOR. Actually, no, I can recall a worse one, I believe, from last season, where we actually saw Porsche get some air. But the bumps out from Pierce is what caused all of this. The safety car chilling just at the entrance of the Lake Hume chicane. Revving that engine, trying to keep it nice and heated under the hood. Dale and Teely are into the pits. So Sam Raworth perhaps getting the best out of all of this, opting, saying, oh, I forgot to put those wet tires on. Oh no, I hope that doesn't come back to bite me. And he avoided all the carnage on on lap 1 because it wasn't even there. So Gulzar, Dornelis, Lovering are going to hang on to those top 3 positions. Pierce is up to P4, although under dubious circumstances. We've got Scaptura, Nunez, Rasco, Weeks, Frizza, Davis, Clifford, Parody, Flomger. They're all in the pits. Wilson, Dale, everybody who has gotten involved with that lap 1 chaos into the pits. You do see Flomger there, the hood of that Mercedes busted up. You got everybody moving down pit lane right now. Scaptura as well, one of the drivers that did not get out of that too kindly. You can see all the hoods just propped up on these cars as they are just moseying on down pit lane, taking forever to get to their box. Oh man, we've already gotten almost 5 minutes off the clock. And we already have a safety car who I believe has picked up the race leaders. No, not quite. So we'll see where Gulzar is. Okay, so Gulzar just coming through Lake Hume now. And he'll be heading down to Brussels in just a hot second. There's the safety car right up ahead. So for the front 3 and then a couple of the drivers behind them, they've gotten away with this lap 1 chaos quite nicely. But everyone else having to either dip and dodge and deal with the damage, or just slam on the brakes and keep the car from finding the fenders of others. Now, the rain will be letting off in the next 10 minutes. However, these tires will not clear things fast enough. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cars into the pits. Parity and Dale on their way out. Parity already, Dale already out of the pits, and Parity as well. So the Tortoise using that shell to its advantage. Not too much damage. It looked like on the BMW, but did get away. So who was the BMW that got tagged? Was it Weeks, the initial contact? No, it wasn't. Don't believe it was Lutkis. It was one of the red and white cars. Don't believe it was Dave. It could have been Davis. Oh, have we lost Davis? Oh, we have. Davis, oh no, sorry, Davis is out on track. Yeah, so Davis was one of the initial BMWs that got caught in that. Just tried to speed his way past Flomger, but it was the slightest of touch that spun him out, and, well, you all saw what happened there. Very slow start here to this first race. It's a safety car, I believe, is going to bring them around for another lap. I don't think so. Nope, it will. So we'll have another lap under safety car as we wait for a lot of these drivers. So they're out. A lot of these drivers are out of the pits right now. They are currently working their way back to the pack. Frizza, the last one out. Or sorry, no, I believe it's Weeks. No, Weeks has already been out. So yeah, I think Frizza was the last one out. So one thing to just keep note of, these cars are not ghosted. As far as the game is concerned, this race is still live. There is no in-game safety car mechanic. This is all done by us. So drivers have to be extra careful to not make contact with those ahead of them, unless they want to get a nice penalty for their troubles, if you will. But yeah, Tim, you're right. Yeah, Davis, the first one on the scene, and well, that's what happens. Sometimes you don't want to be first. And that situation shows us exactly why. Rasco, Weeks, Nunez out of the pits. So these drivers should be catching the back of the field shortly, especially at the speed they're going. At the moment, the safety car is just getting to the end of the Kemmel Straight. You can see the curb right there on the bottom part of the screen. Actually, one of the, I believe that's like the breaking point for a lot of these cars. So the rest of the drivers should be catching up here momentarily, and by the time they do, we'll probably be going racing again. And fastest lap at the moment does belong to Sam Raworth. So congrats, Sam, for your first fastest lap, at least for the time being. 250.695. Of course, under safety car, almost 3 minutes a lap. So a lot of time is taken out. We have Weeks and Flomger pulling on through here. They are really racing to catch up to this pack. They're probably going to take it very, very easy through Eau Rouge Radion. We don't need a repeat of what happened the last time. Flomger especially finding himself down in P28. We have Marco Jansen actually into the pits, surprisingly. I wonder what that's all about. Doesn't appear to have damage on that Honda. Although it is, see, nothing on the onboard. The steering looks fine. So this may be tires? Perhaps put the wrong set on. Well, we continue to trudge along here at Belgium, a track that always produces chaos, especially when the rain falls. And we've seen that firsthand. And we'll actually get half this race under safety car. It must be. And safety car still maintaining speed here. It's not pulled away quite yet. Oh, picking up the pace a little bit. peeling away just yet. Safety car will get direction from the race directors as to when to pull away, as we do pass under halfway here in this race. We've had 2 laps, both of which are under safety car. And will we be going for another? That is the question. Yes, we are. A 3rd lap under safety car. As we wait for some of the cars in the back to catch up. Jansen out of the pits now, so it must have been the wrong set of tires on the NSX. Craig Dale and Chad Teely finding themselves at the back of the grid. Jansen as well is going to be losing some positions out. So, this has been the longest parade lap I've ever seen. Seems to just go on and on and on. So if we get under green flag conditions... Anyway, Frizza's still catching up. If we get going at the end of this lap, we will most likely only be seeing 3 laps of racing being done. If you think about it, probably about 220s, a little bit higher because of the wet weather conditions. Yeah, you're looking at about, probably about 3 or so laps by the time we get going again. And I'm sure all of these drivers would like to get the show on the road. Is this an AI race? No, it certainly feels like it, though. Of how long we've been under safety car conditions since that lap 1 incident with the massive pileup just at the start of the Kemmel Straight. I think we still have a couple of drivers catching up, so we'll check the track map here. We do. We have the number 7 of Marco Jansen, who was in the pits earlier because he had the wrong set of tires on, so he's got a whole lap to do. He's got quite a lot of work to do to catch up. We just had the number 19 car of, I believe that's Timothy Flomger, catch up, and then behind him Wilson, Nunez, and Frizza should be linking up with the rest of the pack here very, very shortly. But yeah, you can see Marco Jansen right now really just pushing it like he's under race conditions. It is still green flagged, so he is not going to be able to catch the back of the pack by the time the green, or by the time the safety car gets back into the pits. Marco, you can't be spinning. You cannot be spinning. A perfect pirouette, though. Gets through the full 360 and comes out the other side. Absolutely no contact on the walls, but I mean, if that isn't the story of the race thus far, I don't know what is. But by the time we get back going, now the safety car peeling away right now. So Jansen probably going to be stuck in 32nd for the rest of this race. Actually, probably, yeah, will, because Teely and Dale are behind a lap. And you see Wilson, Nunez, Frizza just now about to link up with the rest of the race. So with the safety car getting back into pit lane, hopefully for the last time on this first race, we are most likely, we will be seeing 3 laps of this race. It will be a sprint. It will be complete chaos as drivers try to jostle for position. Actually, we may only see 2 laps. This one and possibly the next, and then one after. So yeah, 3. But not counting final lap, we will be seeing 2 laps of action, and Hamza Gulzar putting the hammer down there as we get out of the bus stop chicane. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back under green flag conditions. It's Gulzar, Dornelis, Lovering, Pierce, your top 5, or Medina, your top 5. Fernandez, Carpenter, Harder, Sanchez, Landry, the next 5 down. We go through the source, and it is going to be a 2-lap sprint here. This will set the reverse grid order. Those top 12 drivers, the reverse grid for race number 2, 13 and down, is going to have to battle it out for another position on track. Everyone really taking it easy here through Eau Rouge Radion, especially because of the lack of water clearing that we've had. with the safety car, how slow these guys have been going, have been unable to clear that water and keep it away. And for the time being, everything is extremely slippery. We have yellow flags off in the background. There might have been another mistake from Jansen. Right now, Lovering coming under pressure from Pierce. Pierce trying to get onto the podium for the first race, although... Oh, he's getting a little bit loose there. Adelaide Coombe. So Lovering with some breathing room right now to work with, but this is going to get very, very hectic. Darren Wicks right now is in not the best position, as he's going to be losing a couple of positions. Clifford getting around him, and then just up ahead we do see the BMW of Davis, that driver who was involved in that lap, or the catalyst for that lap 1 carnage. And we are going to possibly see maybe 3 wide here as we head down into Brussels. On the inside is Rasco using that big old Bentley to get Darren Wicks out of the way, and of course in the background we do see Kevin Parody going door to door and gaining a position. So the Canadian driver making up some very good progress. Gulzar, though, still out front at the moment. Michael Landry is catching up to Sanchez. McAnulty as well catching up. P number 10 for the number 113, and he's gonna spin Landry. Landry's around, and that is not going to be how he wants his race to go. Everybody's bunched up, and he's going to be losing so many positions as he has to wait for everybody to come through. And he is going down, 23, 24, and that is definitely going to be a call to the stewards. And is Gulzar? No, Gulzar can't be around. Where is this at? Is this at... What? Gulzar? What happened here? So this is Blanchemont. So he goes through. Oh, he might have gotten a push from Dornelis. That may have been a push from Dornelis. So Dornelis in the race lead. Sanchez picking up a penalty, 15 seconds. Man, this race has just gone from bad to worse to horrible. The last lap at 2:30, so we will be, or actually no, I think by the time Dornelis gets back, that'll be it. 5 laps of racing here for this first one at Spa. Hopefully the next one doesn't have any rain in it. But if Dornelis cops a penalty, then this may be Lovering picking up a very, very strange win. Hopping back, Keith Briscoe coming under fire from Lamelin. Lamelin looking like he might have gotten a little bit of a better run here out of Radion as they go door to door here down the Kemmel Straight towards Lake Coombe. Just up ahead is McAnulty. McAnulty, who also had a little bit of a love tap with somebody. Lamelin just going to pass right on through Briscoe. Did have that inside line for the first corner. Will absolutely take advantage of that. And in the background, we see a little pack starting to form. We've got Gulzar, Lutkis, Thompson, Graham, Clifford. Or sorry, not Clifford. Clifford having to deal with Harder in the background. So it looks like Gulzar is trying to recover as best he can. Steve Davis having gotten around Harder, although not quite out of the woods yet. It is the last lap of the race. Most likely Dornelis is pulled quite a ways ahead. And we look now to Lovering for P2. 2.5 back from your race leader. Although just a couple of tenths between herself and Pierce. And then just behind them, Ronan Mendina. If Mendina can get around Pierce, could this be the Ferrari 1-2-3? I'm not too certain, but at the moment, barring a penalty, it will be a Ferrari 1-2-3 as we head up Blanchemont. So, yeah, there is going to be another lap after this. I lied. It is not final lap. But a lot of these drivers just saying, you know what, this first race, don't even worry about it. We're not going to do anything right now. We're going to come back later. Right now, Lovering having to deal with Pierce on that rear left quarter panel into the bus stop chicane. The inside line for the Ferrari. One inside line to the next. An excellent job of covering it off, although Pierce is going to be getting a better exit here out of the final corner. Onto the final lap they go, and it looks like the Ferrari is actually going to best the Aston out of the corner. Is McAnulty, a very late dive down the inside. Does he make it stick? No, he doesn't. Is going to completely overshoot, and that's going to give Mendina a chance to catch up. So Mendina now going to be running door to door here as we head down the hill towards Eau Rouge. On the inside is the Aston Martin. The outside is the Ferrari, and Mendina is actually just going to back out. He is not going to go for this move. He knows it's not going to stick as Pierce running extremely wide here. I don't know if that may have been accidental. Hopefully it wasn't on purpose. And you can see all over the back of him is Medina as they go down towards the end of the Camel Straight. Heavy braking zone. Second gear. They throw it in. Pierce maintains the position. McAnulty's picking up a 5-second penalty for an incident earlier on in the race. We have to check back right now. You can see Gulzar's Porsche, that front end, all sorts of messed up, and that's actually gonna be... Oh, God, that was very, very close. Davis almost causing another incident. He just sort of snaked it up between the other drivers and managed to keep the thing pointed in the right direction. There's Scapatura into the side of a beaten and battered BMW that has to take to the runoff. He will maintain the position for the time being. Everyone else falling in line. Dornelis has just gotten out of town. Same with Loverink. Has wasted absolutely no time. Sanchez and Lamelin here as the sun comes out. They're door-to-door through Pouon. In the background is McAnulty, who goes wide. Almost loses the rear end of the Aston Martin, but keeps it together. And Sanchez is just horribly losing out. Does not get the best line, and Lamelin will be getting away. Ladies and gentlemen, Pierce has picked up a 10-second penalty. Dornelis also picking up penalties. It's 5 seconds for him. Will it be a 10-second at the end? I don't know. Although, Loverink, 3.5 seconds back from your race leader. Or, sorry, no, 5 seconds. Actually, 5.5, 6 seconds now. So, it looks like, despite the absolute carnage-filled 5-6 lap race we had, Dornelis is going to be picking up another win here in the most unlikely of circumstances, and I believe he will get to keep it as Loverink crosses the line. Oh, that could be a change. 4.2. Pierce with 10 seconds. Medina, Fernandez, Carpenter, Sanchez, McAnulty. We see some cross-the-line action here. McAnulty getting the better of Sanchez, who just decks Pierce. Drops the shoulder, sends the Aston flying. Briscoe, Babaletskos, Lutkis, Hasser, Clifford, Thompson here coming out of the corner with Davis behind him. And then it's Scapatura, Dag, Nunez, Gulzar. Not the best race start for him. Flomger, Parody, Frizzo, Rasco, Wilson, Harder, Weeks, Graham, Raworth, Wicks, Lamelin, Jansen, Teely, Dale, Landry. I don't know who technically won. I'm sure the stewards are going to have a whale of a time trying to sort this out. What an absolute mess of a first race. I don't even know. Like, I see the penalty. I'm trying to think if Loverink is 4.2 back of Dornelis or if it's ahead of Pierce, but I don't think it is. And if that is Loverink within 5 seconds, she will be picking up a win here in the most unorthodox of circumstances. And we see the two Porsches of, I believe that's Wicks and Teely. Yeah, parking it up there just at the runoff of La Source. And the sun is coming out. That track's still damp. You can see the reflection of the headlights there on the ground, and you can actually see a bit of the shine from the precipitation. But this is going to take some sorting out. I'm sure the race director at the moment is giving these drivers a nice talking to. Maybe not quite a dressing down, but definitely going to talk about it with the drivers. So it was a 20-minute race, but we only got to race about 6 laps. So we were under safety car. This is the one track where you want to avoid a safety car in a race like this, because you are going around for what seems like forever. I don't even know who got fast. Apparently Dornelis got fastest lap at 2:27.42. So we're just waiting right now for the server to kind of catch up. I believe, who is it? Raworth, Lamelin, Landry, and technically the safety car have not crossed the finish line. so the game still thinks that we have to do it. All right, there we go. So everything gets sorted out. So Loverink does pick up the win. Loverink, Dornelis, Mendina, Fernandez, Carpenter, Pierce. I gotta take a look at this in the timing sheets, because this is just ridiculous. So it's Loverink who's on top after all is said and done in race 1. Then it's Dornelis, and then Mendina. And then beyond them is Fernandez, Carpenter, Pierce, Briscoe, Babaletsgos, McAnulty, Lutkis, Hasser, and Clifford. Now, these 12 drivers will not get to participate in qualifying number 2. They will be reverse ordered. So Clifford will actually be starting on pole position with Hasser joining him on the front row. 13th and down. So we'll take a nice big look at that. So Sanchez, and I mean, there's so many drivers. It actually goes even farther. So from 13 to 34, all of them are going to get to go out on track. But man, what a what a start that was. That was absolutely chaotic. Hopefully the rain stays off for the next round, because I don't think we can handle another safety car, although it is a 40-minute race, so things should not be all that crazy. Although, anything can happen. So we'll get here into qualifying number 2. And we'll see who is going to be starting P13 in this race. So we look to see who's out on track right now. We'll actually open the track map. So 7:10 is Michael Landry, who will be setting the bar here. But geez, that was an absolutely chaotic start to this evening for these drivers. But 40 minutes of racing ahead, and then we'll get back into the action. Hopefully the rain at least stays away for a while. If it does have to, you know, go through the motions that it is, then, you know, at the very least, let's just have it happen when people are spread out, please. I'm begging you. Because I don't think I can do this again. So Landry is starting his first flying lap. He'll get a couple. We are on optimum track conditions, though, so this will be a lot better for these drivers. We did get fast track conditions towards the end of Q1, but still not perfect. The drivers will probably get about 2 or 3 laps here. There is only 8 minutes in Quali 2 as compared to the 12-13 we normally see. It's because we got to get the show on the road. So everyone out on track right now is going to be fighting for a position from 13th and beyond. Everyone else, those top 12 drivers, of course, reverse grid ordered 1st to 12th, 2nd to 11th, 3rd to 10th, so on and so on. Which always causes some very interesting races, we'll say. Because you end up having what are effectively the faster drivers behind those deemed slower than them. And they have to try to get around those drivers without causing any issues, and they also have to worry about not getting overtaken by the drivers behind who may be using it to their advantage. Should you lose a position to someone who is slower than you, but you got some bad luck, well, now you've got a little bit of extra work to do. And from then on, it's, well, sort of just a waiting game to see if someone else makes an error. But Landry right now out of the final corner, so we'll see what he is going to set as this Q2 bar. Across the line he goes, a 2:18.89, a very strong time for him. We see who is behind, 1:35. of, I believe, that is Rasco, who will not get to set a time, so the next driver who will be eligible for a time will be Flomger. So he rounds the final corner. And we'll see if he can do better than Landry. Across the line he goes. Yes, he does a 2:18. 7:35, immediately bested by Harder, who was just there. The 2:17.9, so we do see the 2:17s coming out. We'll see if anybody else can do that. Perhaps this Q2 session, where we'll see more 2:17s. Grant asking, are any of these drivers running in the OOR Pro Series, or is it too far away and internet is an issue? In the North American split, we do have Kenneth Portis, who I believe is race director tonight. He'll be joining, and then actually over in Europe, we have Chris Vining as well in the VRS Pro Series. Most of the drivers in that series are based in the Asia-Pacific region, so we have a couple of representatives from outside of those, or of that region. So hopefully we'll see some good showings from them, of course. I will always be rooting for the North American reps, whether they be American or Canadian or Mexican. I'll always root for them. Those are usually the big three regions that we see here. And then you do have Brazil, or more South America, but still root for them, of course. And then I believe we've had drivers from Jamaica here in the OOR. Right now, Lamelin in that provisional P2 at 2:18.215 for him. Nunez crosses the line with a 2:19.7, 0.6 off of Davis, who was a 2:19.1. Those two drivers begin the 2:19 club. It's still Harder on top with that 2:17.9. Very strong showing in the McLaren, really showing what you can do when you get some clean air ahead of you. And look around to see improvements. Flomger a second up right now, currently in P5, but he's going to be looking to do a little bit better than that. He could actually be on to steal the limelight from Harder right now as he goes through the bus stop chicane. 1.2 seconds up, 1.1 now as he exits the final corner. What is it going to be? Crosses the line. It's a 2:17.6, and Harder behind with a 2:17.6. These two drivers having to settle it in the hundredths column to a 63 for Flomger, and then a 96 for Harder. Or, sorry, no. Flomger with a 63, Harder with a 67. So 33 thousandths is the split. We'll just round it up. But two drivers already into the 17s, but Landry here on a very good improvement. 3/10 up as he makes the run down to Pouon. Lamelin, the first driver to shake the checkered flag. P5 start for the moment. Just about half a second back of Flomger. Landry at the moment 2/10 up. Could be joining these top three drivers in that 2:17 drivers club. And Harder is on an improvement that could see him go ahead of Flomger and start in P13 at the start of this race. Captura across the line at 9th for him, Frizza in 10th, Weeks down in 16th position, Thiele in 20th. We have some drivers who are out, or actually no, every driver is out on track, although we have had some get back into the pits already. Dale there, P19 for him. So we check back up, see who's where on the track. Michael Landry, half a second. This could put him on pole position, because half a second would be enough to overtake Flomger, albeit just. So he crosses the line here. Where is that going to put him? 2:17.73. It's a 10th short of Flomger. Harder has to back out of his lap. He was looking at a 3/10 improvement, which would leapfrog the 19 Mercedes, but has run a bit wide and validated his lap. Flomger just rumbling it over those sausage curbs as he powers it out of the final corner. He's 2/10 up, crosses the line. It's going to be a 2:17.45. Wow, 2:17:45. I think that's the fastest time we've seen today. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is so insanely fast from him. So we go back to the starting grid. So for those of you that may not be familiar with the OOR's procedure for the start of these second races in the Super Sprint Series, we have a 20-minute race and then a 40-minute race. So that second qualifying session is given to drivers who place 13th and below. And they'll go out there, run their laps. And then what will happen is we'll go into race number 2. Now, when the safety car gets called forward, the race director is going to be calling out the car numbers of those who finished in the top 12 in reverse grid order. And then they'll go ahead, they'll line up behind the safety car, and once they are through, everybody else will be allowed to move forward and line up as well. Now, this does have the change of a manual start rather than a the automatic start that we're used to, because drivers are out of order. And rather than let these guys get penalties and have to rush to remove them, it's better if we give these race directors the keys, if you will, to the race. And that will get things going and hopefully have a better race too. Now, if you look up into the top right corner, you see 10 minutes out. It'll be sunshine. 30 minutes. It's going to rain. And if I know anything, we will have to pit for wets. There is no mandatory pit stop in this second race, but drivers absolutely will have to. That's going to be in the last 10 or so minutes. So if you're on slicks, you're going to be suffering, especially through a lot of these corners, how fast they can be. Eau Rouge, Radillon, Pouan, Blanchemont. It's going to be difficult. Now, we will have another Super Sprint race at the end of the season when we go to Kyalami down in South Africa. That'll be, I believe, the middle of December is when that race is going down. It should be, I believe, the second Thursday. Yeah, the second Thursday in December. December 15th. Or 16th if you're from maybe Australia, like some of our viewers are, some of our members of staff, and a lot of our drivers are just community members, that is. So 20 seconds to go here at the race start. Drivers getting off the jacks, making those changes. So 10 minutes, the rain is coming. So it looks like Spa living up to its chaotic title. The ever-changing weather conditions. It was rather bright, I think, just a couple of minutes ago, and now it's starting to darken up a bit. Wilson in the pits looks like did not hit drive in time, so pit lane start. See what happens. So the safety car going on through as it does, and what's going to happen, there you go, you see Clifford being called forward. So the drivers, the first 12 cars you see heading out, those are going to be the guys and gals starting P1 to 12 in reverse grid order. Now, it will take a bit of time for everyone to get through because of the fact that there are 30-plus drivers here tonight. So they are starting in the back because technically they didn't set a qualifying time. But, yeah, we'll get things sorted out for the time being. Right now, of course, just another quick shout-out to Simrigs for sponsoring this season of Sprint Series. Looking to upgrade what you've got under the hood, as it were. If you're down in Australia, New Zealand, they've got you covered. Outside of that, shoot them an email and we'll figure something out. If you're a Patreon member of the OOR, you do get a 5% discount in store. Absolutely take advantage of that. If my mother's taught me anything, is always be looking for deals. And, well, you could count a 5% discount code as a coupon, and she's got a whole little accordion folder filled with the things. But the cars have been called forward. Everybody else is going to be getting underway. We didn't see if these drivers got in a straight line. I'm just going to assume they did. Which state is Simrigs in? I'm not quite certain. I believe they're based in, I think, Melbourne? I could be wrong. I will double check. I believe it's Melbourne or Sydney, one of the two. Yep, they're based in Melbourne. But again, they do ship products all over Australia and New Zealand. And then if you live in maybe North America, Europe, or basically anything outside of those two countries, email them and work something out, and they'll be more than happy to send you some sim racing gear and equipment at your request. Of course, you got to pay everything, postage and material cost. But it's Clifford, Hasser, Lutkis, McAnulty, Boboletsgos, Briscoe, Pierce, Carpenter, Fernandez, Mendina, Lovrink, and Dornelis, your top 12 drivers. And then beyond that, it is Flomger, Harder, Landry, Golzar, Lamelin, Sanchez, Davis, Rasco, Skaptura, Frizza, Dag, Thompson, Jansen, Nunez, Parody, Weeks, Wicks, Tilly, Dale, Graham, Raworth, and Wilson, who is still in the pit lane. So he'll have to wait for the race to go green before he can get moving. The Purple Cobras representing the 91 McLaren. Very sleek looking design. I can't even tell what's on the back there. It's the wrong orientation for me to look at. Perhaps we can, oh, that doesn't help at all. I thought, oh, maybe we go for chase cam. Looks like a god of sorts riding a bull. That's my best guess. Put the safety car into the pit lane. So drivers lining up too wide here as we just stroll on through Blanchemont. We got 40 minutes ahead of us, rain in 10 minutes. And then it will be tapering off. So this is going to get very interesting very quickly. Because it'll be a damp track and then it'll stop raining. And if I'm correct, we will be seeing a couple of pit stops. One to get those wet tires on, one to take them off, or maybe you just bite the bullet and say, you know what, I'm gonna run a chance on these slicks just to see what happens. Couldn't tell you, couldn't know. We'll have to see how this race goes. But it's Clifford on pole with Hasser joining him. Lutkis, McAnulty, Boboletsgos, Briscoe, Pierce, Carpenter, Fernandez, your top 10. Or Mendina as well in the top 10, excuse me. And then Lovrink, Dornelis, Flomger, Harder, Landry, Golzar, Lamelin, Sanchez, Davis, Rasco, the next 10 down. As we round La Source, it's going to be Lamborghini on pole with two German manufacturers behind them. And then the English Aston Martin there in P4. As we roll down the hill here under the total banner, we're getting ready. 40 minutes of action ahead. You can see one of the McLarens in the pits, and it's green, green, green. It's going to be a great start there from Clifford, who already going for a bit of a defensive line there through Eau Rouge, and that actually opens the door for Dave Hasser to actually take advantage of the, or sorry, Lutkis to actually take advantage of the situation. So he's going to move up into P number 2. Down the Kemmel Straight we go. We look towards the background. It's Carpenter who is off, or maybe Harder rather, who is off onto the grass for a moment, running side by side here. With the Ferrari pulling out, looking at a 3-wide possibly down into Lake Coombe, but thinking better of it and deciding that maybe not going for a move is the better option. We'll be giving up the inside line right now. Ronan Mendina having a little bit of trouble keeping that prancing horse under control as Lovrink almost going into the back of him. Dornelis not getting the best exit out of the corner. Flomger is going to catch right up. Harder on the inside line does not have as much of a slipstream, so he is going to have to just pop back into place. But it's been a very, very good start right now. We look, Boboletsgos a little bit squirrely there with the Mercedes is going to give Pierce a chance to catch up, and just ahead of them it's McAnulty who is coming under fire from Hasser. He has gotten around him, but he has not laid claim to that position entirely, still has to work for it. Boboletsgos almost losing that position out to Pierce, but Pierce just losing the tail end of the Aston Martin a little bit, has to swing it back into place to keep the thing from going way, way out wide. Behind them, Lovrink has lost some time here to Mendina, but has really pulled away from Dornelis, who is struggling right now. And one of the fastest drivers we see in North America is making very uncharacteristic errors, running wide. Flomger's going to go right on through, and actually Harder might get a piece of this as he has a better exit out of the corner, is able to carry more speed, stepping out of the slipstream, trying to get where he can. In the background, we see Brasco, and I believe that's Weeks, going side by side, and that will actually pull Spa-Francorchamps through as well. So down the inside, Spa-Francorchamps goes on the Bentley. Here we go through Blanchimont and up towards the bus stop chicane. To the inside, pulls Dornelis. He's going to try to make the inside corner his. He does make it, but Dornelis will have the inside line at the second half of the bus stop. But it is going to be Galzar throwing it around the outside and pulling way, way ahead of the Brazilian, who's also going to lose another position to Lamelin. Davis catching up. Davis and Weeks as well, looking for a piece of this. Up ahead, we do see Loverink having to find the fastest way around. Fernandez is not successful. Looked like for a moment she may have gone into the side of him, but has kept it together quite well. We ride on board here with the Ferrari drivers. We go through Eau Rouge Radion, a slight lift to try to maybe back off a little bit. Fernandez getting a much better exit than Briscoe. Loverink gonna absolutely take advantage of that as well. It's 2x2. She's using the slipstream, pulling up closer as we head towards Lake Coombe. She is side by side here with Fernandez, has the inside line, barely squeaks on through up into P9 for her. Fernandez losing 2 positions in just a couple of corners. Behind them, Mendina is gonna take advantage as Briscoe just loses that BMW a little bit. And that little twitch was enough to give up yet another position. We've had a lot of changes here. As we head on through, we have Davis with a little bit of Tokyo Drift action there. Dornelis is getting swallowed up by the Horde. It's like a game of Left 4 Dead when you're by yourself. Rasco as well, the tank if you will, getting the best of the Ferrari. There's a slight tap there on the rear left quarter panel. And it will be Dornelis that backs out, although Rasco completely overshoots his mark, running out wide, but does maintain the position for now. Behind them is Nunez, Jansen, Thompson, doing a very good job of keeping things together here. The battle for P19 here is developing. Dornelis just struggling right now, losing more and more time. Nunez is going to try to take advantage of this. The Mexican driver going to be looking to go around the outside of Stavilo. Can't make it stick, although is going to get a really good switcheroo here as the rain starts to come down on this track. We will be seeing some pit stops coming through. Jansen as well, trying to make it 3 wide. He's going to be using the slipstream of Dornelis. Has to back out. We go through Blanchimont here, almost door to door, as we head up towards the bus stop chicane. Dornelis actually getting the best of this. Nunez a little bit later on the brake, gonna send it down the inside. A love tap on the inside of the Brazilian. Loverink, the first driver into the pit lanes, and same with Galzar. So these two getting on to the wets. Dornelis actually flashing the headlights at Nunez there, saying, hey, that was not a clean move. Not too happy about that. And that'll give Jansen a chance to pull through as well. Thompson into the pits for a set of wets. Same with Flomger. So Clifford staying out. Lutkus as well. McAnulty. Lucas actually having a big Aston Martin in his rear view. A little bit of weaving here. So these guys are going to stay out. The track is greasy at the moment. Not quite wet. And we see 3 wide here. We've got Lamelin, Spa-Francorchamps, and I believe that is Baba Let's Goes, who is going to be letting go of this battle and just going to let these other 2 drivers through here at Lake Coombe. You see Spa-Francorchamps, he's got a BMW on the inside. There's a touch there. The McLaren's going around, and he is going to just park it up on the side of the road. And Lamelin, who is going to be letting Spa-Francorchamps through, has made a complete blunder. Spa-Francorchamps is not happy, flashing the headlights and pushing him out of the way. Baba Let's Go's also getting all sorts of wrong there. These drivers, the touch there onto Spa-Francorchamps upset him greatly. And then I'm not quite certain what happened to Baba Let's Go's, but he is not in the best position. Dave Hasser right now, really dropping positions right now. Down in P10 from P5, so not quite certain what happened there. We still have a yellow flag somewhere. Oh, that looks to be someone in the pit lane, perhaps. Man, this race number 2 already complete and utter chaos. Fernandez with Harder alongside as they go through Paul Frere into Blanchimont, unless we get my corners wrong. But it's Fernandez just ahead for the time being. We'll see if These drivers go into the pit lane, into the heavy braking zone of the bus stop. And Wilson staying out. Harder going to dive into the pit lane, getting those wet tires on. We'll have rain for at least the next 10 minutes. Dave Hasser into the pit lane as well. Weeks and Thompson getting in. Nunez as well, deciding now is the time to go onto those wet tires. He knows that the guys ahead will have 70 seconds still to serve should they go for a pit stop. Parity Jansen into the pits. So if these drivers change tires once, they're going to have to possibly do it again later on in the race. Lamelin, Scaptura will be swapping sets of rubbers for possibly more grip later on Loverank. Thompson actually getting disqualified from this race. What is this all about? We'll check the penalties here. So Thompson, if I had to bet on it, it may have been for speeding in the pit lane. We saw it happen in the EU race earlier on. But that is very, very surprising. Normally, these drivers are very good about keeping things together. And yeah, he's done and dusted for this evening. Very unfortunate end for him. Weeks in the pits, Graham, Boboletskos, Leyland, Scaptura, Jansen, Parity, Nunez, Harder, Hasser. So we have some really big gaps forming. Now it's going to be interesting to see what happens once these drivers come out of the pits. The rain really coming down, and it's just going to get heavier in the next 10 minutes, and then from then on, it's not going to rain, but those clouds are going to linger, and the track will still not be under the best conditions. Harder picking up a drive-through penalty. Could that also be for speeding in the pit lane? I'm not quite sure. This race has been full of surprises. Right now, Rasco has Dornelis down the inside as these two go through Stavilo door to door right now. These two have yet to pit. So we may be seeing them coming in at the end of this lap, maybe even the next if they decide to really push their luck. Brian Rasco using the big old Boatley to try and muscle his way through, although Dornelis with a very good inside line as Rasco runs wide. It's still door to door as we head up to the bus stop chicane, and it looks like the 135 Bentley just going to have to slot in behind. And both of them staying out for another lap. Clifford, Lutkis, McAnulty, Fernandez, Davis into the pit lane. So Harder picking up 10 seconds. We'll have to wait and see what that is when it comes through. We have a lot of collision penalties from last race, of course. Or no, sorry, this is the EU race that I'm looking at. But we had a lot of penalties for the unfortunate love taps that we did see. So now that these drivers are out on wet tires, and it's only going to get more and more wet as this race goes on, pit lane or pit stops are going to become a little bit crazy as we see Jansen in a very bad situation. So we're going to see what happens. Oh, it's just that AstroTurf. Part of the track that every driver goes on normally in dry conditions. A little too deadly here in the wet, maybe a little too ambitious on the throttle. That pushes him way down into P26 as he is moving around. Dale into the pits for some wet tires. Lutkis on his way out, actually. Clifford still getting those tires sorted. Those Lamborghini mechanics actually getting that all set. So he'll be back out on the track in no time at all. Kevin Parity with Flomger right behind. Parity, a former commentator here for North America and for EU, has put the microphone away and has picked up the steering wheel this season, running in P23 at the moment. Flomger behind in P24. It's going to be a question of how long can Kevin keep him behind. If he can keep him behind for the whole race, I'll tell you something, I will be absolutely amazed. Parity, an AM class driver, Flomger pro. we saw the times in that first qualifying session, just how different they were. And especially as you come up and over the top of Radion onto the Kemmel straight. It's a long, long straight line, a lot of slipstream. And hopefully some clean overtaking. I know sometimes it's a little bit difficult. But hopefully these drivers can manage. But especially in the wets, you got to be extra careful to make sure you don't spin out. Especially at the top, you see cars get unsettled a little bit as they come up and over. So managing that is crucial. And if I'm not wrong, we'll probably be seeing the wet tires on for the rest of this race. So those who have yet to pit should be doing so momentarily. Thomas Pierce will pass up the pit lane. Same with Carpenter, Mendina, and Dornelis. Briscoe is going to decide now's the time to go in. Sanchez staying out. Rasco as well. He knows the Boatley is pretty stable, but it's going to need some extra buoyancy to stay afloat here at Spa. Landry passing up the pit lane. Same with Wicks. I believe that... Or no, sorry. Wicks goes into the pit lane. Wilson and Thiele staying out. And Clifford has already done his stop, so we'll see where what he can gain, rather, as things get together, or as things start panning out. But we have a pretty big lull in action now. After an absolutely hectic race number 1 and a very crazy race 2 start, we now have these drivers starting to settle down a bit. Lovrink with Gulzar in her rear views. He's been there for what seems like forever. These two, of course, 1 and 2 after penalties applied. So they've got to fight back from 12th and 11th on the grid, respectively. And look at that. Lovrink not with the best exit out of La Source, and that does give Gulzar a chance to catch up. They're going to go side by side here as we head up to Eau Rouge. Radion, Gulzar backing out and then right back on the throttle. Tried to go for a move down the inside, but realized it was not going to stick the way he wanted to. Onto the Kemmel straight, and it looks like he struggled to get over the top of Radion. But with that slipstream, will be able to catch right back up and carry on. But is not going to do it. This Ferrari just a little too quick in a straight line. Going over those curbs as much as they dare. Those are going to be very, very deadly, especially with the water that is on it right now. So we'll keep an eye on this one as we see Lamelin actually picking up a penalty. Gulzar as well, and Graham. So a lot of these penalties, and a stop-go 30 for Wicks for track limits. I believe, or no, is that track limit? No, track limits is a drive-through. So a stop-go 30 for Wicks, that may have been speeding in the pit lane. That he may have gone into the pit lane a little too hot. So we have got a very interesting race on our hands right now. We check back with Fernandez, who has actually found Lovrink right behind, and Gulzar has been struggling to catch up. Behind him is McAnulty. So Fernandez in this BMW does have a very scary Ferrari behind. The slipstream is there, although Lovrink will try to pull just close enough in, maybe be the last of the late breakers into the bus stop. She just lets off. She was a little too close, and for now, Gulzar can breathe easy. Or sorry, Fernandez can breathe easy. Gulzar and McAnulty. Oh, just up ahead. There's no, that's not Fernandez. That might be a... That's not Hasser. Who is that? Oh, that may have been a back marker, actually. Number 35. Yeah, that is a back marker. That appears to be Takis Weeks. Gulzar had to get around. Eduardo Sanchez in the 21 McLaren Behind him is that's not Michael Landry. That's Ronan Mendina. So it looks like he actually got around the Brazilian earlier on before we popped on over here. But really getting loose out of the corner. Love Rank looked like she went for a move and it didn't pan out. Let's see if we can rewind this. So we go down the Kemmel straight here. She's got a huge slipstream, pulls to the inside, and looks to be a little later on the brakes and just goes right into the side there of Fernandez, who does take to the runoff and keeps on going. Solid effort there from Love Rank to try and get ahead. Just didn't work out, although she doesn't lose too much time, actually. Manages to actually stay close. She does have blue flags to get through. Kevin Parody seems to have lost out to Flonger. Behind him is Lamelin. Lamelin, 5 seconds will be added on to the end of his race. And if he gets around Parody, he's got a lot of work to do to try to make that stick. Nunez starting to come under attack here from Flomger, who's gotten a pretty good start here. Grant picking up a 5-second penalty. So this race has just been all over the place. Keith Briscoe with the Porsche of, I believe, no, that's, oh, Briscoe, wow. Those may be front runners, actually. McAnulty, Gulzar, the way through. These pit stops are just throwing everything off. Gulzar going wide there. Through goes McAnulty into P14. McAnulty almost losing it. And actually behind them, that is Briscoe. It's going to be 3 wide here momentarily as we head into the bus stop. Gulzar on the inside will absolutely keep his claim of land there. McAnulty trying to fight back, but doesn't get the drive out of the corner. That got very exciting there very quickly, as Briscoe tried to make it work, just couldn't. Or sorry, that isn't Briscoe. We do have Briscoe into the pits, although Hasser and Davis right now side by side here across the line for the BMWs. Down into La Source, the inside line for the Kraft Dinner Racing team, number 921 BMW, and these two are still not done arguing over P16 as we head down the hill. Who is going to back out? I don't think either of them are, and as I say that, Dave Hasser having to step out, and Davis really taken to that runoff. Probably going to get a track cut warning for that one. Dave Hasser coming back, almost going into the side there, as we are still side by side heading down the Kemmel Straight. These guys are still not done fighting over this position, into the braking zone, into Lake Coombe. The inside is Dave Hasser's. He's going to try to make it stick, but Davis not giving up, keeping in it. And finally, Dave Hasser getting some breathing room, but Davis there to choke him out immediately. And it looks like Hasser's gonna hold on. Wow, what an exchange, and he actually misses his breaking point. Davis still coming back, not done yet, still trying to make this move stick any way he can. The inside line for Hasser, the outside line for Davis. Does he get a better drive? They come together. Davis lost it for a moment, brought it back under control. Into Pouan we go. Davis still looking for this inside line. Down into Pouan. Hasser remaining ahead just barely, and actually getting a better drive out of the corner. And he is going to keep it going. Man, what a battle we had there. Neither driver wanted to back out. Amazing racecraft from both of them. Keeping it clean, keeping it professional. And I don't think those guys are going to be done anytime soon. We look around, Nunez still with Flomger all over him, has not been able to shake him. Last lap for Nunez, a 2:36.6, and then a 2:35.1 for Flomger. We've got a yellow flag out on track right now, 3:16. That's Bob Aletskos. And it looks like he's let himself go a little too far back for us to see what happened. If I had to bet on it, perhaps lost it out of the no-name corner just back there. and finds himself in a less than ideal scenario. We're going to pop here to McAnulty right now, as he's got pretty close with Golzar, who is behind, though, with a 5-second penalty. So this is... Oh, Golzar really just cutting the top there. Definitely a track cut warning for him. Try not to get too many of those. Ronan Mendina up in P5 right now. Wilson behind Dornelis, quite a ways ahead. The gap right now looking 12.3 seconds. Peabody saying, starting on the wets and taking the pain. I can tell you I've done that. It is absolutely a call you can make, and if it pays off, man, does it pay off. As the rain continues to come down, although probably for not much longer. Loverink in P12 with that 5-second penalty. Fernandez, if he can just stick here, we'll pick that up with absolutely no questions asked. Free of charge, no hidden fees. And that'll be a top 12 finish for the number 88 BMW. Loverink trying to open up a gap where she can, but it is just so hard to do, especially in the wet, and how unpredictable the track can be at any stage of the game. Nunez still struggling to get this Mercedes off his tail. Flonger has not given up yet. Nunez's last lap, a 33.7. Flonger at 35.1, so these guys trading back and forth. Or sorry, no, I completely messed up. Nunez with a 33.7. Oh, the last lap was actually correct. Last lap for Flonger was a 34.1. So Flonger having a little bit of an error, perhaps got a little too close to Nunez and ended up losing time. But these two still not done. Flonger looking for something down the inside, will not find it. Nunez covering it off nicely, although a little bit wide there, is gonna maintain this Audi's productive direction and will continue ahead of Flonger once again. We have to hop back up. Michael Landry is just gonna let Clifford right on through. You can see the front end of that McLaren a little beaten and battered right now, so losing some of that top end and possibly a little bit of aero as well, especially up and through Eau Rouge Radion. Not the place you want to be. Cuts it again. He's probably having to lift, and you can see just how much he's losing out as Clifford is really getting crazy here, as he is going to be side by side, or sorry, no, he's going around Thiele. I thought for a moment that was, or that is Thiele. Thiele's on the lead lap despite all the damage. Thiele's losing this position. Clifford up into P7. And the fastest lap, the 998 Lamborghini, has been doing work right now. Really getting his way through the field. Job well done for the Alpha Sim Sport driver. I see the message now. Noted, John. I knew a person named Skylar, and it was a girl. So I was just going off of experience. But thank you for telling me. I will definitely keep that in mind. It is hard to tell sometimes with names. You just sort of guess, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But thank you for that note. I will absolutely keep that in mind. So, to Loverink, my apologies, of course. But in the future, I'll get that right. I don't have to pass it off to anybody, because it's just me here in the pits. Or here in the booth, rather. But yes, thank you for telling me, John. I appreciate that. Right now, though, we've got Wicks and Graham here, with Dale just behind. Now, Dale can pick up these two positions with absolutely no problems if he just holds where he is. 5 seconds for both of them. We'll push them down behind Dale by race end. And Dale out of the final corner. What is going on? What are you doing? We're going to roll this one back. I think he may have gotten a little... Oh, he gets a little too ambitious onto the AstroTurf and just spins it. That's a very common spot to spin the car, even in dries, and actually gets a very perfect 180 to get the car back in the right direction. Shoutouts to Dale for that one. Obviously not the way he wanted. Thiele right now having to deal with Lutkis, who got to look down the inside but couldn't quite make it stick. This is the battle for P9. As we head down into La Source, that was a very, very scary move from Thiele. I thought for a second he may have gone onto the brakes. That would have been movement under braking is not what the OOR really wants to see. Door to door right now, it's going to be Lutkis that gets a better exit there out of the first corner. Pulls ahead and is cleared of the Porsche as we head into Eau Rouge. Radion behind them. It looks to be Landry and Loverink up and over the top. Landry really struggling with all that damage. Loverink, blood's in the water. I know horses are herbivores, but let me tell you something, that Ferrari is hungry. And you can see just how much speed difference there is. It's only when you get to the end of the straight does Loverink catch up, and Landry just gonna lie down. Let Loverink through. Wasn't gonna fight it at all. Ladies and gentlemen, the rain has stopped coming down. The track is gonna be damp from here on out. But man, what a race we've had. It has been absolutely crazy what has gone on here. 12 minutes to go. Dornelis gambling and staying on the wets, taking a lot of punishment at race start, but he has been rewarded handsomely with an absolutely insane gap right now to Sanchez. Sanchez just crossed the line now. We're going to see what the gap is. 15 seconds. Dornelis did not pit. And despite the pain he felt at the start running on a dry track, has recovered it, and we do see the number 77 car of Darren Wicks really spinning around. So we're going to see what happens here. This is through Blanc-Chemin and the tail end of the Porsche just stepping out of line. It's a light tap onto the wall there, not enough to really cause major damage, but definitely quite a massive annoyance for this Porsche driver, and he actually spins it and almost goes into someone else. So Wicks with 5 seconds already added on, and this race bad to worse for him as he has to let a faster car on through. Andrew Wilson right now 7th position. Clifford just behind, not really close enough to go for a move, but for right now the Purple Cobra is doing a really good job of keeping things sorted out. As in the pit lane, we do see Brian Rasco there just at the end of shot. Austin Carpenter getting around some back markers right now. McAnulty with, I believe that's Gulzar behind. Yes, it is. 5 seconds, though, so even if Gulzar gets the move done, it's not going to matter. Nunez into the pits. Possibly for damage. Jonathan Clifford has gotten around Wilson at Lecum. P6 for Clifford, who does hold the fastest lap, a 2:19.5 in the wet, mind you. Very impressive stuff. Has been absolutely on fire here in North America since last season and even to now. Absolutely no messing around. Kevin Parody running a bit wide. That's to let the faster cars through. Lets the number 74 Ferrari on through, and I believe that's Frizza, actually. Frizza on a couple laps behind Parody, so perhaps Kevin knows that Frizza's faster, so just let him through rather than hold him up. Dave Hasser, very close. Right behind you see Flomger just sitting there in the shadows waiting. He stared at the rear bumper. It says send nudes, and I think Hasser may have gotten a little bit of daydreaming as he's thinking about those craft noodles for the craft racing team. And he does lose it a little bit. Still is struggling to keep this BMW under control, but hasn't been able to lose it quite too much. Overshoots his braking point right now. Flomger almost taking advantage of that slightly different line. It's actually going to be a better drive out of the corner for Flomger. He's going to look to the outside, rather, as Hasser sticks to the inside. A little switcheroo here. Doesn't get the best exit. Right behind again. And is just, unfortunately, going to have to back out once more. We hop back up. Tadas Lutkis with Loverink behind. 5 seconds for the 52. Ferrari out of the grass. Lovrink goes, almost loses it. A little side tap on to the Lithuanian. Holds the position. Although if this overtake happens, Lovrink 8 minutes to try to pull 5 seconds out as we go down Eau Rouge. Radion. Lovrink just lifting. Knows that it is very difficult to go side by side here, especially in the wets. Better to just let it be. Have to fight another day. Dave Hasser still dealing with Flamger as they go door to door across the line. 700th is what separates them at the line. The inside line of La Source will be Hasser's. But Flamger with a much better exit there around the outside and does make the move stick. And after lap of trying, he finally gets the move done. But now he's got to start building this gap to not let Hasser have a chance of revenge. We just check back up Lutkis. Taylor with McAnulty behind. McAnulty looking for a move down the inside line. He is going to make that one work out pretty well here as they get to the exit of Lake Hume. That move does stick. McAnulty up into P12. Harder right now with Wilson behind. There is a penalty for him. 5 seconds. We see beaten and battered BMW behind. That is the number 501 belonging to Keith Briscoe. Yeah, you can see just all the damage there. And we have yellow flag 776. Chad Teely having some issues. Is this another instance? Yep, just getting a little too much onto that AstroTurf and losing it. I don't think he got on the accelerator too early. He just hits the wall and sort of sits there for a moment, letting everybody through. You see Davis just moving on through there. But that is another victim claimed by the AstroTurf. But for right now, things starting to settle back down again. Drivers are close, but not really close enough for a move. This race has been all over the place right now, as Hasser is going to get around Thiele, or perhaps was trying to stay in front of Thiele for P17. Jansen into the pits. Not quite certain what this is for. The front end looks fine, although I could be wrong. We'll have to just make a mental note of that. McAnulty with Wicks behind as a backmarker driver that he has to navigate around. Kevin Parody right now. Scaptura really just throwing it around the outside. Parody's not even going to contest that, despite having no damage. Knows that it's better for him to let Scaptura through, just keep his own back clean. And just settle into P21. He has quite the gap down to Nunez, so this isn't really going to be too much of an issue for him to hold, barring a unfortunate 360. Goals are front of that Porsche really messed up. A little bit of top speed loss, I'd have to say. But yeah, things have settled down. The sun actually coming out, surprisingly, breaking through the clouds in the last 5 minutes. The track remaining damp, and I think for the rest of the time we are going to be having drivers on these wet tires until the checkered flag. There's really no point going in at this stage of the game, especially with how long you lose in the pit lane. You lose 70 seconds overall plus 30. It's 100 seconds, over a minute in the pit lane. The longest pit lane, in fact, in the game. Right now, Lamelin is just going to dash on by Thiele. So Lamelin has 4 minutes to try and pull out a 5-second gap to nullify the penalty he has. Quite a tall order. Thomas Pierce running in P3. Ahead of him is Eduardo Sanchez and Renato Dornelis, who decided to start on the wet tires and take the punishment of a dry track, at least until the rain started falling, and that has absolutely been the correct call. He is well over 10 seconds clear. We'll see what the official timing is. 16.1, so a second and then some since the last time we checked in on him. it has been an amazing afternoon for the Brazilian. One of the dominant drivers we've seen in the past, and his 200 IQ really coming into play here this race. So we'll leave him be for the time until later on in the race. Lovering still trying to get rid of that 5-second penalty as best he can. We'll see what the official timing is as we cross a couple lines and dot a couple T's. It's only about a second and then some. As we see Michael Landry with Steve Davis there. Steve Davis getting the better exit out of La Source and does pull ahead. Landry trying to just nurse this stricken McLaren as best he can. And you can see he can't keep the throttle down through Eau Rouge. He's actually bottoming out there. Just before, just that little right-hander onto the Kemmel straight, he's bottoming out, I think. Loverank running very wide, struggling with this car, although it is a back marker behind. So nothing too difficult to handle. Or no, that's Wilson actually behind now. So Loverank finally getting around, but it's last lap, and he's got to do everything he can to pull ahead. Pull 5 seconds. I mean, that is a lot of time to try and make up, especially in just one lap of racing. Ronan Mendina here. That's Clifford on the inside, and Mendina does back out, and Clifford up into P5. Harder's right behind, but 10 seconds will mean absolutely nothing if he gets the move done. He looks down the inside, is not going to try it. I think Harder might know it's the final lap of the race. There is really nothing that can be done. Dornelis is, oh god, he is at, there's no way. No, okay, he's at Bristol's. I thought he was at Stavolo for a second. I was about to be like, my god, man. What kind of Fast and Furious nitrous oxide mix do you have? Giada Graham, a driver we really haven't talked about too much. In 23rd with 5 seconds added on at the end. Dale knows he's just got to stick behind and he'll get that one. Absolutely. With that 5-second penalty applied. Ronan Mendina here. Still keeping Harder behind. He knows that it's pointless for Harder to pass. Thomas Pierce with a Ferrari behind. A back marker, of course, nothing too noteworthy. Dornelis 18 seconds here as he's going through Stavolo for the last time. An absolutely mega race here from the Brazilian. Started off on the wet tires. Knew he was going to be punished for it with a dry track. You see it's greasy. And he's actually stepping off the racing line just to try to keep these tires cool. But it has paid off perfectly for him. As he rounds through Blanchimont for the last time. He knows he can just take it easy through the bus stop chicane. And Renato Dornelis going to add another win on to the stat sheet. What a race he's had. 40 minutes on the clock. 15. You want to count 16 laps. Crosses the line in P1. Eduardo Sanchez just now getting through Blanchimont. It's going to be P2 for the Mexican, and Thomas Pierce has quite a gap down to Carpenter. So as long as he keeps it together here through that fast left-hander, he's going to be home free. That he does on exit, keeps it together, and he's just got one more braking zone to go through. He'll line it up, send it down the middle, and then down the inside. Thomas Pierce onto the podium. Job well done from him. Austin Carpenter just now getting through the bus stop chicane. It's going to be P4, and then Jonathan Clifford just behind in P5. What a drive he's had, and the fastest lap, a 2:19.547. He's going to be very happy with that, and in the background we have somebody spinning off. I wasn't quite sure who that was. Harder 10 seconds ahead of Mendina. That is definitely going to move him down. Lovering 5 seconds. Wilson around as well into the top 10. Lutkis Fernandez will also be rewarded for their efforts. McAnulty through the bus stop. I don't think he's going to quite get close to the top 10, but possibly 11th for him. Gulzar across. It's P13, but Davis, I don't think is close enough to benefit from the 5 seconds. So Gulzar does manage to hold on to P13 by just about a second. Flomger a little loose there out of the final corner. Crosses the line. P15. Michael Landry out of the bus stop as well. It looks like he's held off Lamelin for that lap. Lamelin 5 seconds. As Dave Hasser is 4.456 seconds. And he'll get bumped on up to P17. Chad Teely. Oh no, as Teely lost it at the end. Oh, that steering is all sorts of messed up. It looks like some problems out of Blanchimont, and I'm not certain he can actually cross the line with how messed up the steering is. He's going to have to try to make something work if he can. Scaptura will then just pick that place up. Parity as well. Has no problem. Grabbing that. Nunez 21, Graham 22. Dale will get a position. Actually, I don't think he will. He might actually lose out by 0.2 seconds. So Graham may hold on to P22. Briscoe 24. Wicks 25. 26 Jansen. Although that 5-second penalty looking like a bit of a position swap. We've got Chris Frizza parking it up on the exit of La Source. Weeks, Raworth, Boboletscos. 25th through 28th respectively, and then the safety car. So we have had a couple of retirements. Teely will be moved back. He wasn't able to get that car across the line with the steering damage, especially right at the end. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the final call here at the end. So we're going to take a look and see just what happened here. So we take a look at the timing sheet. So overall, race number 1, it's Loverink, Dornelis, and Mendina. Pro-Am, Loverink, Briscoe, Boboletscos. In the amateur class category, it's Thompson with bragging rights ahead of Parity and Wilson. And then we move on to race number 2. Overall, it is Dornelis picking up another win. Sanchez and Pierce onto the podium. 3 different nationalities on that 1, 2, 3 position. Pro-Am, it's Sanchez, Clifford, and Loverink. Loverink with 5 seconds does manage to stay ahead of McAnulty. And then the amateur class, it's Wilson, Parity, and Teely being given that position. 5 seconds for Wicks pushes him below Craig Dale. Sam Raworth managing to be a lap down, and then Thompson disqualified for an infraction earlier on. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for tonight's broadcast. An absolutely crazy start to the first race we saw. We only got a few laps in because of the incidents on lap 1. And then race 2, we had quite the showing from all of these drivers. A lot of chaos with the pit stops, but it was Dornelis that played his cards right and got ahead. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us tonight. We have a week off. We have a bye week until we pick things back up in 2 weeks' time at the Circuit of the Americas. So that'll be exciting to see. Some of these drivers new to the scene will definitely want that extra week to prepare. Before we go, just a final quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring this Sprint Series. You guys know what they're all about, servicing Australia, New Zealand, and anywhere else. If you shoot them an email, 5% off for our Patreon members, so please take advantage of that. Sim racing equipment is not cheap by any means. Again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. But that is going to do it for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of myself and everybody here at the OOR, we'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for your support as always. It's going to be a bye week, and we'll be back again at the Circuit of the Americas. Mark your calendar. November 10th is when we get back. But until then, stay safe, stay beautiful, and try to avoid that lap 1 carnage.